Hello everyone and welcome again to the channel. Today we're gonna do the fourth video of the series, how to build a financial model for a renewable energy project. If you haven't watched it, please do so. In the first video, I demonstrated to you how to build a proper and dynamic timeline. In the second one, we did the building blocks of the financial model, which is the input sheet and the calculation sheet. In the third video, I present to you the best practice for using the calculation sheet, and today we're going to populate our calculation sheet as we have in here. But before we start, please subscribe to this channel and help me to reach 100 subscribers, and also give a thumbs up if you learn and like the video. Let's get started. Let's start populating this now. So essentially what we're going to do, we're going to start with the total production in here. We're going to bring the total production to this particular cell in here, and then we're going to add the formula in here. So where's the total production? The total production is on the input sheet. Let me go here. So here we have it. Okay, so the generation. So I'm going to change this because if you recall from the second video of this series, essentially I copy and paste everything in here from a previous model. So I'm going to just, for the consistency across the model, I'm going to change this for production, and I'm going to say here total production from solar PV. Okay, so I'm going to make this a solar PV financial model, but it could be anything. It could be only production, could be wind production, could be whatever. And I'm going to change this number here for now for 40,000. Okay, so you have to bring this number there. Another thing, we have to bring this number here to the calculation sheet. But before doing it, I'm going to name this cell here to total PV production. And I'm going to press enter. So now I'm going to go back to the sheet in here. And I'm going to say that this cell here equals to total PV production, right? So we have the number in here. We have the unit. And what we need to do now, just need to add the formula in here. And what we're going to do, how can I do it? So we should have zeros in here as long as there is, we are on the construction period. And from here, we should have a number, 40,000, let's say for now, right? So, and from here should go for 40,000 as long as we have the operations phase in here. So how do we do it? So let me just go here, let these things in here. How we're going to do the calculation? So I'm going to say equals to this, right? I'm going to press F4 3 times to anchor it properly, as we previously discussed how to anchor cells on the calculation sheet. And I'm going to multiply this by this number here. I'm going to press F4 twice in here. So why I'm doing this? Because essentially when I multiply anything by false or by true, it's going to return either 0 or 1, right? So false equals to 0 and true equals to 1. So if I multiply anything by false, essentially what I'm doing is multiplying this number or number to 0. And then when I multiply it by true, essentially I'm multiplying by 1. So if I press here the enter, and then essentially what this number means is it means false or 0, okay? And if I copy and paste this thing here across, and if I did everything correctly, what I'm doing in this particular cell here, multiplying 40,000 megawatt hour times true or times 1, and then I get the result I want, okay? So that's essentially what I'm doing here. And I'm going to copy, Control C, I'm going to copy and paste everything across here, okay? And whenever you copy and paste things across in a calculation sheet, okay, what you need to check is the transition points, okay? So here we have a transition point where we have the transition from construction to operation, okay? And we expect to have a difference in the formula, right? A different number in the formula. So transition is correct here. Whenever we are into the construction phase, we should have 0 production, but once we enter the operation phase, we should have 40,000. So let's gonna check now what's happening at the end of the model. Okay, so I'm gonna go there. Okay, here we are, and as you can see here, the transition also happens as it's supposed to be. So we're transitioning now from the end of the operation phase to the retirement, essentially, right? So that should be no production after that. So that's correct here. So we basically did it correct, right? The question is now, let me just make this one bigger here, okay? The question now is, is this really correct? Like, should we have 40,000 megawatt hour per period here? Okay, so we need to confirm that. And whenever you bring things from your input sheet from somewhere else to your calculation, you always need to make sure that the units are correct. Okay, because here, let's see what we have in here. So essentially, we have 40,000 megawatt hour per year here. Okay. And then we have to check what is our period in here. Okay, what are you calculating in here? And essentially what we have here, we don't have an year, we have a quarter, right? We have 3 months. So this is not correct. So we need to fix that. Okay, so how are we going to fix? We're going to say that here we have megawatt hour per year. Okay, so whenever you bring something from somewhere else, just make sure you add the units or some reference. Okay, just to make sure that you understand what's going on in the model. And we need to translate that. Okay, so we need to check here. So we have here essentially 40,000 megawatt hour per year. And because we have a quarter here, we should have 1/4 of that generation. So we should have 10,000 here, right? So how do we do that? So we gotta change this for a few things. I'm gonna press F2 here. Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put this here into the parentheses, okay? And I'm gonna keep this outside. Okay, so this is also best practice. Okay, whenever you're multiplying by a flag to check if something is true or false, just leave it outside of the parentheses. Okay, because it's clear to the user then that this is just a check to, you're just checking whether something is true or false. Okay, and I'm gonna do all the conversion in here. So how do we do it? So this is a number per year, right? So what we need to check is how many months we have in here, right? And then we need to convert that for, we need to convert this quarter generation to monthly. So what we need to do, I need to multiply this number by interval period. Okay, so how big is our interval period? Okay, this thing here, and this is a quarter. Okay, so we have this generation here, which is yearly, and this is quarterly now. So we have generation per year times quarter. Okay, so we have 1/4 per period. Okay, how big is each period? Okay, so it's months and quarter, right? So we have 3 months in a quarter, and we have to divide this generation here by what? By year. So we have months and year, right? So essentially what I'm doing here, sorry, there's something wrong here. I have to divide. This is a division here, sorry. Okay, so essentially I'm getting this number here, which is generation per year. We're dividing this by 12 to get the generation per month, right? Then we're checking how many months we have in a period. Okay, so what is our period interval? It's 1/4 or 3 months. And because this is in quarter, I need to multiply this number here by the number of months in a quarter. Okay, so that's what we have. And I'm gonna just grab this and copy everything across. And essentially now we have the 10,000. So let me make some changes in here. Okay, I'm gonna change this interval period here for 2. So every period now in our calculation sheet should be 6 months. Therefore, we should have 20,000 megawatt hour per 6 months, right? So if you go back here, that's exactly what we have. And if you change this number here for 4 quarters then, which is 1 year, we should have 40,000, okay? So that's correct, okay? So everything is dynamically and everything is consistent and correct. So it's important to keep in mind those things, okay? One more thing before we finish, okay? Just a reminder or clarification, okay? In our calculation sheet, okay, sorry. In your calculation sheet, whenever we have formulas in here, it's going to be always referenced to the length of the period. Okay, what I mean by this? So here we have 10,000 megawatt hour per period. Okay, if I have a number here, let's say $1 million. Okay, whatever the number is in here, it's going to be $1 million per period. Okay, so we spent in this particular case here $1 million in this given period in here. Okay, so that's always referenced back to the period. Okay. So here we have a quarter, so it's going to be, everything's going to be referenced to a quarter, so we don't need to add USD per quarter in here, okay, because it's implicit that this is the calculation. So that's going to keep going. Next step, now we're going to bring the CAPEX, right? I think I already named the CAPEX, no? Okay, so let's going to go there and get the CAPEX. So what is the CAPEX for us, right? So this is the CAPEX, the $30 million. So it's 30,000. We have 30 megawatts times $1,000 per kilowatt. And here we just have the hard-coded number, but we're going to have to fix it, okay? So how we're going to fix it? So essentially we have to say equals to this times 1,000, right? So that's the number we should have in here, because again, we need to be mindful of the units. We have 30 megawatts or 30,000 kilowatts, and here we have USD per kilowatt. So we have to make the conversion in here. But remember, we never ever add hard code numbers except when it's 0, 1, but here we have 1,000, okay? So what I usually do, okay, I come here to the tag, and I'm gonna just make this bigger, right? So what I do here, so we're gonna have here constants, okay? So we have thousands, just correct, thousands. That's correct. We have millions, right? Essentially, we're gonna have here, we're gonna have, let me say, 1, 2, 3 thousands, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 s. And here we're gonna have 1,000, and here we're gonna have 1 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? So I'm gonna just format this now. We're gonna say comma 0, and it's an input. I'm gonna name these cells here for 1,000, and here's gonna be million. Now that we have named these things here, so we can come back here to the inputs and replace this by 1,000. Okay, so that's correct. And now we have the right calculation here. I'm also going to bring this number there. I'm going to just before name this for total PV CAPEX. I'm going to go back here and say equals to total PV CAPEX. So that's what we have in here. Okay. Another thing, what we're going to do here, we're going to assume for now, okay, for simplicity of the model, we're going to spread these costs evenly during the construction phase. Okay, so this is the capex. So the capex should be only disbursed during the construction phase. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So how we're going to do that? Essentially, what we're going to do, we're going to say equals to what? We're going to press F4 3 times what? Count. I'm going to do a count if here. So count if what? So if going to be if this thing here is true, right? So we're going to say if this range here is what? True, right? That's it. But instead of multiplication here, we have to divide actually. So we're going to divide this thing here. Divide. That's true. So if I copy this, let's see. No, it's not correct. What I did wrong here. Oh yeah, now I have also on top of that, we also have to multiply this by this number here. 1, 2 times here, and now should be correct. And if I press here now, so yeah, that's correct now. Let me just increase the size here, and we're gonna also increase the size in here. Okay, so that's correct. Now we have 7.5 million for each one of the periods, right? And I will just, yeah, I'll just add another parenthesis in here for the better readability of the model. So here and here. Okay, and one more thing in here. Okay, so this is an outflow cash from the project. So cash is going away, it's being disbursed, okay, from the project. So this number here should be a negative number. So what I'm gonna do, again, I'm gonna multiply this number here by -1, okay, and it's always best practice to multiply these things by -1, okay, instead of like just putting a negative sign at the beginning. Okay, you could also then do something like this. You come here and press minus. Okay, I don't think that's good enough because it's very difficult to read it. Okay, but when you press my times -1, it's clear to whoever is reading your model that that you need to multiply this cell by -1. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do here, and I'm gonna, oops, sorry, I think I did something wrong. I'm gonna copy and paste everything across, and now we have a negative number here. Okay, and if you notice here, right, like the way we are styling our numbers, okay, it's by using this comma 0 here. Okay, so basically that's the one we are using. And whenever I have negative numbers, again, everything's in parentheses, okay, just to make it real easier for the user to read, okay, Because if you have negative 10 like this, okay, sometimes it's very difficult to read the negative number, okay, or even red. I don't like to have red, okay. I just like to have in parentheses because it's easier to read that this is a negative number, okay. Moving on to the upfront fee and debt fee. So upfront fee amount and debt closing costs. I think we have these numbers in here. Let me see. No, we don't have it, so we have to add those. So let's go and start adding now the debt part of the model. Okay, in my previous model we didn't have that, so I'm gonna just add that here. I just want to copy the same style, so it's gonna be that. So which ones we're gonna need? Okay, so we're gonna need a debt as a percentage, or as a first, let me do like this, percentage of capex. Okay, so it's going to be a percentage number in here. We're going to have also to have these two things in here, so I'm going to copy and paste. Okay, so this is going to be a percent, this is going to be a USD amount, this is going to be a USD amount. Could also have those numbers in percentage. Okay, just for easiness, I'm going to keep this as it is, and I'm going to add this. So I'm going to just put the whole thing as units. Okay, so what we're gonna have here, so I'm gonna grab, let me get these numbers in here. I'm just again, I just want to copy the styling. So here, let's say we have, let's say 50%. Well, let's gonna give it 60%. We're gonna have, let's say 100,000. Doesn't really matter. And here we're gonna have $150,000. Okay, we're gonna use this one here later, but we need these two here right now. So I'm good. One way to reference this back there, you can copy these numbers in here, go back here, and here what you can do, you can go to the paste special and click here, paste link. So essentially what we're gonna have the links in here, okay? And let's gonna basically do the same thing here. So I think if I press Ctrl D here, I should have the same thing. The question is, when do we disburse this money, right? Should we consider that we're gonna evenly disburse it, or should we consider it that we're gonna disburse in the first period of the construction phase, right? And I think it would make more sense here to get this done in the first period of the construction phase. Reason being that when you get this, when you start construction, they should be paid for already. So essentially, we should have paid for this even before the construction started. Okay, but let's, again, for the simplicity of the model, let's gonna assume that everything is done in the first period. Okay, so we need to do that. The easier way to do it, we need to add some other things here in the timeline. Okay, so we have when the construction starts, but we need to calculate when is the first construction period, right? So let's do it in here. Okay, I'm gonna just add a few lines in here, and I'm gonna call this one here. Let me get this styling here. I'm gonna call this call-ups. Okay, and essentially I'm gonna have here construction period. Okay, it's gonna be a number, and what I want to have here, I want to equals to what? Count. I'm gonna just count. Okay, this number here, and to this number here also, right? So I'm gonna close parentheses, but I wanna anchor everything in here. So this is 0. Let me see why this is not counting. Why? Oh, it should be count if, right? Count if. So this is the range, and here I want to have true. Okay, so that's it. And now I can just basically copy and paste everything across, and also have to multiply this by this essentially. So 1, 2, right? So now I think should be okay. And I want to format this to be comma 0. Okay, so again, I don't want to. Okay, that's correct. So why also, let me just explain one more thing, okay, about styling. Why whenever you have 0, you have a dash instead of the number 0, okay? And that's very simple, okay? You want to make sure that like this is a 0, okay? It's not like a very, very small number, okay? Because here, let's get this example here. Here I have 0, but if I have 0.000000001, okay, and I have this sort of formatting in here, okay, let me just change here, comma 0. That would also give me a 0. So you don't know by looking at zero whether something's really zero or it's a very, very small number, as it is in here. Okay, so that's why you always have to use this dash, because then it's clear to you that this is a zero number. Okay, so that's the reason here. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to also have already the operation period. Okay, it's going to be a number, and let me style this because it's not properly styled. And here I'm going to press Control D. Okay, and essentially what we need to have here, we have to just grab this thing here, should be E5, and here should be also E5. Okay, so now if we copy and paste this across, we should have the opposite. Okay, so we should have which period number we have for the operations phase. Okay, and now here, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say the following. Okay, so I'm going to change the formula here. It's going to be equals what? This. So it should be a bit, so if what? If this here, right? 1, 2 equals to 1, then we're going to have this 3 times f4. Otherwise, it's going to be 0. Okay, so that's what essentially we need to have in here. That's what we do. And now if we press F4 here, we should have the same. But one more thing, this is an outflow of money or cash going from the project to the banks. So we have to multiply also this by -1. Okay, and also here by -1, I'm going to select both, copy and paste, and that's what we have in here. Okay, and to finalize the construction costs, what we're going to do, we're going to just add equals sum. Okay, so we're going to just press here, and I just want to have a top border in here. Okay, so that's what we have. Now we copy and paste everything across. Okay, so there's a mistake here. Don't want to have these side borders, so let's just gonna fix it. Here we don't need it. Sorry, we don't. Oops, we don't need these things here and these things here. Okay, not really. So let me just fix it again. More borders, and yeah, we don't need this one here. Sorry. Okay, cool. So now we have everything fixed. Okay, and here basically essentially what we have here, we have the sums of each one of the values. Okay, it's very good for you to have this. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but other times it does. Okay, so you can basically double check again what's going on with your model. Okay, continuing here, what we're gonna do now, we're gonna populate the funding section now. So essentially what it did, we know now what the total cost of the project is, which is this number in here. Now, because we know this, we can essentially say, okay, we're going to fund the project with this equity and senior debt. Okay, so that's going to do it. So what we're going to need here, first we're going to have to add a line here, whereas we're going to have total CAPEX. Okay, I'm going to just copy this, Control ES T if you're using Windows. Okay, so essentially this is going to be like this number here. Okay, but now I want to multiply this by -1, because if we have the investment of the construction CAPEX as negative numbers, the funding needs to be a positive number. Okay, so sorry, I did this wrong here. So I need to, oops, sorry, I need to copy this and paste the format here, and I need to copy this and paste the format here. Okay, so that's correct. So we need a positive number in here, right? So this is the 30 million that we need here, the 30,250,000, and this should be here. This is a USD, and now I need to calculate how much equity and how much debt we need. So we need to bring in another number in here, which is the debt as percentage of total CAPEX. Okay, and that's a percent number, and it's going to be equals to what we have the number in here, which is the 60% here. Okay, so that we have, let's gonna just format this. It's an external, and this is a percent. Where is the percent row here? We have down here. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to, okay, cool. So that's what we have in here. Why that's not really the same color. Okay, let me update I just wanna update this to be a bit better. So I don't like this dark color here. So let me just change this. So we're gonna click on format. Now we're gonna get the fill. We will get here. I hope there's the, yeah, there is here. So I want to have this color here. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, so now we have everything ready. I also like more this color here, so let's gonna change the color now. So we're gonna go to format, font color. We're gonna just change that to this one here. Let's get it in here correctly. Where am I? Yeah, I think that's okay. That's correct. Okay, and okay. Not really, right? So let me fix that just 1 second. Okay, I think now I got it right. So we have it here. So now we have the right formatting, the colors that I like. Just terrible with this, but that's okay. That's another thing. Okay, so let me copy this here now. So we know how much that we want, and we know the total capex. So now basically what we can do here, we can calculate how much of a that we need. So it's going to be this number here. I can just press one time F4, multiply by this one here, and then we have, and then the difference between this and this gives me the total funding for equity, right? So we have that in here. To go up here a little bit, I want to copy this here. Okay, so we have that. So I have to change this. This is no longer an external sheet calculation, but this is an in-sheet calculation. So we have that in here. That's good. So how are we going to fund it? So that's the question here. We're going to assume now for simplification again, okay, that we're going to fund both equity and senior debt at the same time. Okay, well, basically we're going to prorate funding from equity and senior debt. Okay, so essentially we're going to do the same as we did for this formula here. So I'm just going to copy and paste here. Okay, if I anchored everything correctly, should be okay. But just need to get rid of the multiplication by -1. Okay, just delete here, and I'm gonna copy, paste this across, and we have everything here. So the numbers match, so everything's correct. Now just now grab this piece here, and I'm gonna paste here, but I have to fix the sum. Okay, so there we go. And then I just need to copy and paste across. Okay, so these two numbers here, they match. Okay, even though they are with opposite sign, and that's correct because as we defined before, or as we stipulated, okay, outflows of cash from the project should be negative numbers, and inflow of cash to the project should be a positive number. So in this particular case here, we have shareholders giving money to the project, and the banks finance the project, okay, and then we have outflow of money in here. Okay, but the question is this correct? It is not, right? So because essentially we need to match these things in here, these numbers in here, with these numbers in here, and that's not what's happening here. So essentially what I need to do, I need to get rid of this number here, okay, and I need to anchor this thing here, and I'm going to press F4 twice here because I need to keep this here. I'm going to copy this below by pressing Ctrl D. I'm going to select, but still this is not correct. Let me see what's going on wrong here. Oh, okay, I see. We need to multiply this by, yeah, that's wrong. We need to get rid of this here. Just get rid of this. So it's going to be this times what? 1 minus this, and I'm going to press F4 here, right? Okay, so still not correct. Let me see if we just copy it across here. Yeah, now that's correct. I'm going to press Ctrl D, but I have to fix here because this is going to be only by this. Okay, so that's what we have here. Okay, so I multiply by 1 minus this because it should be 40%. It's going to be equity. And I'm multiplying this number here by 6% because this is going to be of that, right? So that's why you should always check what you're doing. Okay, and as you can see here, I'm just doing as I go along. And now essentially this number here should be always this number here. Okay, so as you can see, these numbers match, so everything's correct. So basically now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select, copy and paste everything across, just to make sure the formulas are correct, right? So yeah, everything's correct. And we have the same matching numbers in there. So that's another thing. Just keep in mind, always double check when you do things. So that's going to calculate the revenue now. So what's going to be the revenue? The revenue is going to be equals what? This price here, press F4 3 times the revenue, right? So I'm going to times this, F4 2 times. So I don't need to multiply by the operations flag because the production is already multiplied by that, right? So I'm going to copy and paste, okay? And I can see already that the formatting here is not correct, okay? Because the way the numbers are laid out here. Okay, so I'm going to just format the numbers. Let me go here, and it's going to be comma 0. Okay, so that's the total revenue. Okay, we don't need to be mindful of the units now. I mean, we need to just check if the units are correct, but I think it is because we have US dollars per megawatt hour, and here we have megawatt hours per period. Okay, so there's nothing really we should do. So we should be making $600,000 every single period. Okay, I am going to now add a total revenue here. It's going to be a bit redundant to this particular case because we only have one source of revenue. But if you want to add more, like the infrastructure is going to be red. Okay, let's say we have some other source of revenue. Let's say we have capacity revenue or whatever. It doesn't really matter. If we were to have a battery here, let's say we could have potentially ancillary service revenue. Okay, but now we don't have it. So essentially, I'm going to say this is equals to this. Okay, again, it's a bit redundant, but that's okay. And I'm going to just plug here, copy and paste across, and then we have all our revenues. So let me get rid of I want to get this format here. Okay, so it's going to be, oops, sorry. Let me copy everything here. So I'm just gonna, okay, cool. So now everything's formatted, okay? Let's go now to the operating expenses. And we are gonna go here. Do we have the O&M? Yes, we do have the O&M here, okay? So we're saying that we're going to have a land lease cost, we're going to have an insurance as a percentage of CAPEX, and the PV OPEX. So we have three source of OPEX. So let's gonna go and go back here. Let me see what we can do. Let's gonna add here two more rows. Okay, I'm gonna just come here and copy these things in here because we will need them. Okay, I'm gonna just paste here. I am gonna grab this and I'm gonna put in here, and I'm just gonna say this is just units. So let's gonna make sure we have the right units in here. Okay, cool. So now we need to fix the units, right? So we have basically here, we're gonna have, that's very interesting because we have dollars per kilowatt per year, okay? So we're essentially have a fixed OPEX here for the PV. So we need also to bring here the total power plant capacity. Okay, so I'm gonna just add one thing here. I'm gonna just copy this thing down here. Okay, we need to add one more row here. So it's gonna be, I'm gonna copy here the total capacity. Do we have? Yes, we do have it here. So I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna place it here, and I'm gonna just bring this here. Okay, this should be always an external sheet. And now I have to link because what we have here is a hard-coded number. We need to link this back there. So it's equals to 30 mega. Okay, there we go. 30 mega. This should be equals to 8. And now just press Ctrl D and everything's gonna be just matched with the right formula. I just need to make sure we have the right units or format here. Okay, cool. So we have this. So what we're gonna have now, we have to fix this here to be a cost per kilowatt per megawatt for each year. So this is the cost per year. So which is really interesting how to model. So let's go in here. So essentially we should have zeros in here. We should have a number in here after operation, right? So let me see which one is better to get. I'm going to grab this one in here and I'm just going to paste here. Let's see what we have. We're going to have what? So we have, do we need to have this here? Let's see. So interval, I don't think we need to have an interval month in a quarter, divide my months in a year, right? So I think that's correct, right? So should be, then we should have here, basically our cost should be 1/4 should be $2, right? So let's see if that's gonna give us $2. Just select and press F9. So yes, 25% of 8 is 1/4, so that's correct. So we have the same thing in here. So let me just gonna come and, yeah, that's correct. But we should multiply these now by what? By 30 megawatts, right? So I'm gonna do one thing here. So we're gonna have the OPEX per kilowatt. I'm gonna just change one thing here. So what I'm gonna do, just shoot what I'm thinking here. Let me come back. One step back. The formula is getting too big already. Okay, so essentially another best practice in financial modeling is that like have small formulas that it's very easy to understand. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, instead of getting it should be a USD kilowatt per year. Okay, so I'm gonna just get the USD costs here. Okay, on a per period base. Okay, and then I'm gonna multiply by the 30. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do just to make this number a bit small. So I'm gonna get rid of this, and this is going to be correctly essentially. Okay, so let me just now comma here. I'm gonna copy and paste everything across. So what we have here is the cost per kilowatt per period. Okay, so it's 2. If you add 4, it's going to give us 8. And now down here, we're going to calculate the total cost, which is going to be, let me just copy this. It's going to be what? It's going to be equals to what? Equals to this times this. I'm going to anchor times 1,000. Okay, so we need to multiply by 1,000 now. And now we have $60,000 per period. Okay, and we don't need this thing here. That's our PV O&M OPEX here. So I'm gonna just per period. Okay, per kilowatt per period, just to different. Now I'm just adding this just to differentiate the namings. Okay, and here we're gonna have USD. So this is USD. So insurance as a percentage of CAPEX. So that's quite easy. I can also come here. I can delete this thing here. Yeah, let me start. So it's gonna be what equals to this. Press F4 3 times. Times what? Times our total CAPEX, which is this number here, right? Or let's get this number here, which is better. Times what? We're gonna have this as long as it's operation. So operation is here. Press F4 twice. So let me copy and paste this across, and then we have here the cost of the insurance. For the land lease, we're going to have the same thing as for the O&M. Okay, so we're going to have to, let me also add one column here, and let me get this thing here deleted. We don't need it. So let me see what we're going to do here. We're going to have, I am going to copy this. I'm going to copy here, and let me see if that's correct. Yes, we have 5,000 per quarter, right? So I just want to format this to become 0. Okay, and the total, let me see here, this is going to be per quarter, per period, not so per USD per period, right? So that's what we have here. And then I just have length lease here. Sorry, length lease here. So it's going to be a USD. Okay, and that's going to be, I'm going to copy this here. It's going to be equals to this. We don't need our, actually we have the number here already, right? So let me just do it like this then. I'm just going to copy this thing here. Control X, I'm going to paste in here. This is going to be here. I'm just going to format here. Sorry. And formatting here. That's going to finalize here, make sure everything's correct. So what I have here, I'm going to have this thing here. So we have the sum, we have the cost, and now basically what we can do, we can just calculate the whole sum of all the costs. what I'm gonna do here is gonna be equal to the sum of what? Sum of this number plus this number plus this number here, right? So, and if you copy and paste across, we have 7 million. Let me see if that's correct here. So we have 7,568,000. That's what we have here. So that's the cost. And again, so we need to fix one more thing here, right? Because remember how we defined positive and negative number? Whenever we have an outflow of money, it should be negative. So all these numbers here, they should be a negative number. So let me just multiply now by -1. I'm going to also multiply this by -1. And so this one in here. And now I'm going to just copy and paste everything across. And everything should change its signs, right? So yeah, we have the same numbers now. The question is, we should, why have, oh, there's a difference in the numbers in here. Why is that? So let me see. There's a difference here. Why I'm getting 10,000 here? Let's check what's going on. It should not be 10,000. Oh, it's -2. Of course, it should be -1. Okay, so now, okay, the numbers are correct. Okay, so we do have everything correct currently, and we have 5,000. Okay, so all the transitions here are correct, right? And if you go to the next one here, let's see the transition here in the end, if it's correct. Yes, it's correct also. So we have everything as planned. So now to finalize here, we're going to calculate the EBITDA, okay, which is earnings before interest rates, tax, depreciation, and amortization. What it's going to be? It's going to be basically the revenue minus the total operating expense. So it's going to be this number here, total revenue, plus the total operating expense, because we already have the negative numbers in here. So that should work. And that's our total EBITDA. We may have to fix it. Apparently it's too high of a number, 21,000. So we can fix this later. Okay, well, the EBITDA looks a bit high to me, but we can fix it. Just hypothetical numbers that we're using right now. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel. Give a thumbs up if you liked it. And I hope to see you soon, where we're going to basically calculate the cash flows and try to finalize everything in here. See you soon.